$3 million. That's exactly what this one content system generated in the last 8 months. And so today I'm going to be breaking down exactly how it works. All the way from the model, acquisition, amplifiers to leverage and labor. And so basically this one video is all you need in order to scale an info business, a personal brand, or any organic marketing business from $0 to $100,000 in a single month. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Justin, and for the past year, I've worked with the biggest info businesses and personal brands in my country in this space, taking people from 0 to 200K a month in 60 days or 300K to over $1 million a month in over 6 months. Basically, I've seen every info business from the inside and out and know exactly what's needed to grow and monetize organically. So enough hassle, let's dive into the exact system that made this all possible. First of all, I want you to understand the exact model that made this all possible. So what's actually the model behind all the biggest info businesses and personal brands that lets them monetize and actually make money from their audience? So the model is actually, it consists of two things basically. So there are two ways to get rich in this industry. The first one is where you teach, and the other one is where you actually execute and implement for clients and partners. So it's basically a done with you consulting model versus a done for you agency model. So I've worked in both and I've seen both from the inside and out. So I'm going to explain you exactly how both of them work and what's my opinion of them, because you can get rich in either of those, but the first one being a lot easier to set up but harder to scale, and the other one is vice versa. So a lot harder to set up but easier and more stable to scale. So let's break it down. First one, the consulting model. Basically what this means is you sell the skills and knowledge needed in order to teach people stuff they can use themselves and implement themselves to get rich, right? So basically the course sellers or the coaching model. Basically what this means is you have a skill and a monetizable skill, and we'll get into if your skill is monetizable in a little bit. But a monetizable skill actually means that instead of implementing it, for instance, e-com coaches, they know the skill of setting up an e-com store, scaling an e-com store, and making money with e-commerce or dropshipping, right? Instead of implementing the skill themselves, they could teach other people how to do it themselves. So that's a really valuable skill to have. People pay thousands of dollars, if not tens of thousands of dollars, to start or scale with their dropshipping store or dropshipping business, right? So that's a very valuable skill, monetizable skill. So how would this work? Basically, there are 4 types of offers. The first one being a simple course, the second one being a group coaching, a one-on-one coaching for 3 months, and a one-on-one coaching for 6 months. This is based on my experience in the field. So what I see now is a lot of courses. Of course, you can make a course and sell a course, but that's just the value. And now with AI, valuable information is not really that valuable because everyone can basically copy and paste the information itself. It's the implementation that people actually need help with. So you don't actually see a lot of courses anymore. It's more these 3, so the coachings, right? The thing is, with a group coaching, it's way more valuable as well, because a group coaching is very high leverage because of course you teach the same thing to multiple people at once, which is really a high leverage. And you can easily charge $2,500 to $3,500 to teach people that skill in a group, right? Then you have the one-on-one coaching for 3 months and 6 months. The thing is, a lot of people want to assemble these two things. So they want a one-on-one coaching that's a little cheaper and a one-on-one coaching that's a little more pricey. So the thing is, splitting up that offer is really hard, because how would you sell the skill but then differentiate the one-on-one coaching into 2 offers, right? That's really hard to do. That's not easy to do. The thing is that the simplest way to do this is to basically cut out the time. Because if you were to cut out the information or the implementation, it would feel really weird. Because in the end, people want to be taught the skill and they want to be taught one-on-one. So how would you differentiate those 2 offers, getting a pricier model, a pricier one-on-one offer, and a little cheaper one-on-one offer basically? So how would you set that up by not damaging the perceived value? Because they want to be taught the skill and they want results and they want the transformation, right? So the only thing is they get the exact skills, the exact implementation, the exact same deliverables, but in a shorter time period. So that way it's way easier to promote the more expensive model and the cheaper model, because the only difference is the time span of the coaching, the time span of the program. So that's really easy, and that's with a done with you model. The thing is that the perceived value is way higher here because people get taught a skill. And you'll see with the done for you model, that's a little different. And we'll get into the pros and cons later in the video. And you call these people your customers and your clients. That's basically how you call your clients here. The other way to make money is with a done for you agency model. Basically, what this means is you sell the infrastructure by implementing certain deliverables. So the whole goal of this is that you implement a infrastructure or a system, or you take something out of hand. You don't have to do anything, we do it for you. That's basically the whole business model, right? So how would this work? With an agency model, you have growth operations, sales management, organic content, or SMA, which is really popular. The thing is that this is really hard to set up because it's really hard to get clients. But once you set it up, it's really easy to scale, because once demand is there, it's really sustainable, because a lot of people go on a rev share, for instance, or on a retainer. So it's really predictable. Your income becomes really predictable, and it's easier to scale this model. And that's basically the pros and cons. So that's basically how a done for you model works. But the thing is, there's a really nice combination. And the combination is that first, you hire people on a done with you model. That means that you sell them the coaching and you sell them the implementations and the knowledge so they can implement them themselves. And once you set that up, you can upsell them on infrastructure. So there's a really nice combination with this where you make a lot of money. And this is basically where a lot of people make a shit ton of money. The thing is that once you have the customer and the client, you can upsell them by becoming a partner for rev share, or upselling them on a system or sales management or organic content. Basically, you sell the infrastructure, the implementation of it, done for you, completely done for you. And you get a really nice retainer, for instance, for the system, or a really nice upsell, or even better, you get a rev share or profit share, which means you get a percentage of everything that comes in every single month. Now that's really predictable for scale and really sustainable and easier to scale, of course. And so that's basically the easiest way to scale. And of course, I said there are two ways, but really there's three ways, because there's a combination of it where the actual goal is made, right? So the combination of the two is where the actual goal is made. Now, if you were to look at the leverage against LTV of all offers, the thing is, this is where leverage increases and this is where LTV increases, right? Clear? So the thing is, of course, with a course, it's really high leverage, meaning that you make it once, you make a course once, and then you can sell it infinite amount of times. So if I were to make a course once, I could sell it 1,000,000 times, 100,000,000 times, because it's already made and the only thing that's left to do is sell. So leverage is really high, but you can never price something really high or really expensive with a course, right? It's just information. So the thing is that your LTV is really low because it's not really personal, and it's just, for instance, like a book. It's really high leverage, but your LTV on a book will never increase. It's the upsell that actually increases LTV, but not the course itself. Now, of course, with a group coaching, that's already a lot better. The thing is, with LTVs, you can charge a lot more because you get to teach the implementation to a lot of people at the same time. So that's really valuable. Leverage is still very high, and the LTV increases by a lot because, of course, you have to invest your time yourself, or you get a coach to do it, for instance, but your leverage is also very high. So this is a really nice model. It's more mass because, of course, you need a group in order to do a group coaching. If it's a group coaching with two people, it's basically two one-on-one coaching. So you need a lot of mass and a lot of skill in order to be able to implement the group coaching. But once you have the mass clients, you can actually very easily scale with a group coaching. Now, of course, the one-on-one is really lower on the leverage stage. Of course, it's really high. All you have to do is basically do a call every week or every 2 weeks, and you get to tell them what they're doing wrong, how to improve, and what to do next. And that's basically, they'll implement it themselves. You don't have to do anything. You just have to tell them what they're doing wrong and how to improve, and they do it themselves. So really still really high leverage, and the LTV is a lot higher as well because they pay you a lot of thousands of dollars in order to get the implementation and information one-on-one. Now, the lowest on the leverage, but actually the highest on the LTV is the done for you model. So that's a system, rev share, or retainer model. That's really low leverage because you have to do all the work. You get paid to do the work. So they expect you to do the work and they expect you to get results. If you don't get results, you're out of there in maximum 2 months. But the thing is, if you do a good job and you know you can deliver, it's really high on the LTV scale because you can charge a retainer, a high retainer, or even better, a profit share or a rev share, which means you get a percentage of everything that comes in every single month. That's really high for the LTV. Basically, if you just do your work good enough every single month, you get to earn and reap the rewards of the income every single month, which is actually crazy. So you'll see that this is really easy to set up and scale once you have a good personal brand and a good way to implement and actually get attention and convert attention into money. But this will get you really rich. Done for you will get you really rich. So let's look at the pros and cons on the done with you and done for you model. The thing is, perceived value is really high with a done with you model because you teach them the skill they can use endlessly. They can implement it themselves. So to give you an example here, when I tie your shoes and you don't know how to tie your shoes yourself, you're really happy that I tied your shoes because now you can sprint, run, jump, whatever you want because you don't have to worry about tying your shoes. And for instance, of course, you don't pay for someone for tying your shoes, but you would pay me like a fixed fee for tying your shoes once, right? The thing is, if I teach you how to tie your shoes yourself, you don't need me anymore. So you need to teach me for the skill of implementing the tying your shoes skill. And now I get to charge more because you don't need me anymore. So I'm teaching you the skill you can endlessly use, and that's way more valuable. And also the perceived value is way higher because I'm teaching you a skill. I'm upgrading your character, basically. That's basically how it works. I'm upgrading your character. I'm making you a better marketer or a better person by teaching you a skill you can use yourself. That's really, a perceived value is really high here. And the thing is, your leverage is way higher because I only have to teach you the skill. I don't have to do shit. I don't have to implement anything. I don't have to build anything. I just have to teach you how to build it yourself. And that's basically the perceived value. With the done for you model, that's the complete opposite. Perceived value is really low here because, for instance, if you pay me to tie your shoes, I tie your shoes, and then later on the day you run, jump, and sprint, and your shoelaces untie, your perceived value of me is really low, especially when I build a system and it doesn't work. The thing is that I take a lot of risks here because not only do I have to implement it, I have to make sure it works. And when it doesn't work, you think of me as an idiot because I sold you something that's broken, right? So there's a lot of risk in the done for you model, as in perceived value. It's really low. Then the leverage with a done with you model. The thing is, leverage with a done with you model is really high. You tell them what to improve and how, and they implement it. So that's basically all you have to do. Is the delivery of a done with you model is you have to build out the strategy and the theory and the method once, and then you can tell people to implement your method and implement your theory, and you don't have to do anything. You just have to tell them what to improve and how, and they do the implementation. And when they screw up, you can say you screwed up because you didn't do X, Y, and Z the correct way, like I told you. So it's never your fault, basically. So your leverage and your perceived value is really, really high. Then with the done for you model, it's the exact opposite. You do the work, set a strategy, and manage the expectations. So if you deliver something and it doesn't work, like I just tell you, not only does your perceived value lower, your leverage is also very low because now you have to fix it, put extra hours into it when you thought you were done. Now you have to do extra amount of hours or hire someone else or do extra work where 9 times out of 10 you won't even get paid for because they paid for a fixed system and now it's broken. So you need to fix it, and that's basically why leverage is very low with a done for you model. The thing is, consistency with a done with you model is really hard. The thing is that, of course, every month you start over because there is no real MRR. MRR is monthly recurring revenue. Every month you start over because I sell you a coaching or consulting model and you pay me once and get the information and the implementation, and that's it. We shake hands and you continue. So you get all the knowledge and implementation needed for a one-time offer, a fixed fee, right? But after that coaching is done, there's no money from you. I need to upsell you in order to get more money. And that's basically where the done with you model is really consistent and really easy. For instance, if you get retainer or percentage-based deals, that means money comes in every single month, right? And the last one being growth. Growth for a done with you model is really hard because growth is exponential and often unpredictable. With a done for you model, growth is often more linear and more stable to scale. Because if you have a business that actually works, it's really easy to scale that business. You don't need a lot of demand to make a lot of money. Because if you're, like I said, on a retainer or percentage-based fees, that means money comes in every month. So growth is really linear. So now that you know how this model actually works, how do you know that you have a skill worth monetizing? There's a formula for this, and I'm going to explain it right now. So the skill success formula is where the 3 circles meet, and when they meet in this very specific part is where you have a very monetizable skill. So the first one being something you are actually passionate about. If you sell something you're not really passionate about, it's really hard to teach people that skill over and over and over again, because basically you have to breathe that skill. You have to repeat every single theory over and over again. So if you're not really passionate about it and don't dream and live it, It's really hard to stay consistent, stay disciplined, and stay motivated in your business. And that will eventually drain your energy in the business. So that's really something you should look out for. Only use a skill. Of course, I can use e-com coaching, for instance, but that's not really where my passion lies. So if I were to teach someone else that skill, it would drain my energy. And that's not what I want. Now, the second circle is something people actually pay to get help for. Now, if you sell something where people don't actually pay to get help, it's not really a good business model and you don't have a monetizable skill. For instance, when I were to actually create a business about tying people's shoes, that's not needed. And people will never pay me money to do it because it's not really that hard of a skill to learn. Now, if we were to sell something like e-com coaching, for instance, that's really a valuable skill and a lot of people would pay to actually get help with that because the information is not out there. Not everyone could succeed in that skill. So that's where the leverage of selling a skill and monetizing that skill is very high. So that's a monetizable skill. So really think that through because you have to understand that if people need to pay $5,000 to $6,000 in order to learn that skill needs to be able to generate 10x that amount. So if it's not possible for them to make $40,000 using a skill worth $4,000, it's not logical for people to pay that amount because they don't see the ROI potential. Now, the third and last circle is something you have real field experience or authority in. Now, that's really important because, of course, a business is to make money and you don't make money teaching people skills you don't even have. So that's really important because you need to have real field experience because you need to be able to promote that skill and you won't promote that skill if you say someone else taught you that skill or you don't even have that skill. And unfortunately, that's why the coaching industry is so hated and people are really skeptical on coaches and courses because the thing is, a lot of people sell shit they don't even have experience in. So please, I only work with people that have real field experience in the skill that they're selling. And when you put those three together, you have a monetizable skill. Okay, phase two, which is the acquisition part. Now you know how the model works, how to make money, and you know you have a potential monetizable skill. If you don't, please learn something valuable because there are thousands of skills worth monetizing. It's really not that hard. So once you know you have a monetizable skill, now comes the acquisition part. You need to teach people that skill and you do that by promoting the skill and promoting yourself. And you do that organically by creating a personal brand. Now, there are a few really important parts about creating a personal brand, and we're going to actually implement and digest every single part of it. But first, you need to understand the theory behind creating a personal brand. You see, the thing is now organic growth is easier than ever. And you see thousands of people trying to create personal brands, and a lot of people still struggle. Because the truth is, there are only a really small percentage of really successful personal brands, and the rest is just struggling. And that's basically because they don't understand the basics I'm about to teach you right now. So first of all, of course, every Instagram user has a profile. And that profile is your content ecosystem. And how that works is you create videos to get people in that ecosystem. And once they land on your profile and get into that ecosystem is where you convert people into buyers and actually make money. That's basically how the funnel works. You create content, then you get people in your profile ecosystem, you convert with the nurture content, and then you monetize and convert into buyers. So the very first step is to optimize your ecosystem, aka your profile. And we do that with profile optimization. Not only am I going to show the theory, I'm going to show 3 perfect examples of good optimized profiles. So on every profile, you need to optimize the following things. First, your username, your profile picture, your bio, your highlighted story sequences, your pin posts or your carousels, your feed posts, and then your reels. So that's 6 steps you need to optimize. Now, the thing is with usernames is you want a very clear and easy to remember username. Don't use a lot of hectics with numbers and syllables or hieroglyphics. That's not working because you need to have a brand message that's actually recognizable. And people understand easy and they remember things that are easy. They never remember things that confuse them. They just forget them as quick as possible because something confusing really distorts the mind, distorts the brain, and you get thrown in a puddle of things they really want to forget really quickly. So the thing is with a username, you want a very easy to remember and clear username. Now, the second thing is your profile picture. And the thing is with your profile picture, they judge your profile by your profile picture because it's the very first picture, very first visual they see on your profile. So you need to really think through what your profile actually needs. You need to show your face really clearly or show authority. Or I see a lot of people that don't even have a profile picture, but the thing is they judge you consciously or unconsciously based on the visual that you have. So let me give you a good explanation. Here you see Max in a house, very clear username. Then a very clear profile picture. You see his face, you see authority because he's wearing a suit and it's a nice background as well. So that's really authoritative. Then Samuel Onua. You see his face really clearly, a clear username, and of course with the palm trees in the back with a really nice sunglasses. So that's really authoritative as well. Then of course Nick setting, really clear username as well, and you see his face really clearly. So profile picture and username is covered. So that's really nice. Then we move into the actual bio. The thing is, your bio needs to consist of 4 lines. First, the identity / title plus username. So basically founder of XYZ company. Then line 2, and of course you don't need all 4 of these lines. There's a mix and match if you want, and of course you need to be unique and specific, but I suggest implementing the lines that really support your brand, right? So line 1 could be identity / title plus the username. Then specific transformation for specific audience. Call to action with a trigger word or promise of immediate value. And then a link with a clear description or destination. So basically how this works in practice, as you can see here. This is founder of Skilled LLC. So that's basically the title plus the username. Then you have a very clear message. So this is authority, right? This is where you create authority. Then you have a very clear message, which is also authority. Then again, really nice authority. So basically this is all results and authority. And then you have a very clear CTA with a link. So this is CTA with a link, right? So you need to be able to really nurture them on your bio and create authority, have a clear message for a really clear audience, and have a clear CTA. So let's continue to Samuel Onua. So this is basically, again, founder, which is again, authority, a founder plus the username, $40 million a year, selling products online. Again, clear message for a specific audience, and again, authority, right? Then a clear CTA plus a link. So DM a lead to apply for 90-day mentorship plus a link to the case study. So that's a clear CTA plus a clear message, right? And then lastly, of course, next setting with the bio. This is the clear message I was talking about. So this is specific transformation for a specific audience, a clear message. DM info to learn more, private 2-hour content masterclass with a link. So this is basically not really authority. There's no real authority behind it, but there's a clear CTA and a clear message, right? So that's basically his profile bio. Now, the third thing we talked about is highlighted story sequences. So what you want to do with highlighted story sequences depends on your brand, whether you're a B2B or B2C company. With B2B companies, you want to focus on proof of concept and credibility. So what you see here is client results, basically a fuck ton of client results. That's a good way for proof of concept and credibility. You need to understand that this is just for nurture, right? This is not to convert people. This is just to say, hey, look at me. I'm getting these crazy results and this is my credibility. This is my social proof. So you need to nurture yourself by clicking on these highlights, right? And then with Samuel Onua, he's B2C. So he has student wins, again, nurture and social proof. But then with B2C, you need to understand that he sells the transformation of the lifestyle. So he needs to show the lifestyle because his lifestyle supports his brand. So Houston, America, Miami, America with a nice car again here. So as you see, my results. So that's again, social proof and credibility. Clients, then Brazil, again, the lifestyle, and again, the lifestyle as well. So he has a few things. Of course, he has his own results and his own brand. He has the lifestyle thanks to those results and his unique mechanism. And then he has the client results. So those are the things that actually support his brands, which is why he highlights those stories, right? And then of course you have the Nick setting. The thing is, he has start here or new here, which is an invitation to get even more nurture. So these two are basically, again, for nurture, right? That's just nurture, basically. Then you have wins and clients and clients and clients and clients. So basically that's just social proof and credibility. This is B2B. So all that matters is more nurture, food for nurture, and then wins, which is social proof and credibility. So that's the third thing, which is, of course, highlighted reels. So that's basically extra things to nurture on. Now his reels, and of course you have pin post reels, which is really important. Pin post reels are basically the first 3 videos you want people to see when landing on your profile, aka your ecosystem. So what do you want to support? So you want to show something that really supports and sustains your brand. With B2B, that means getting the unique mechanism, authority, and of course social proof. So here You're a supporter of grandma asks you how much you made on a, I don't know how much this is, 39K a day. So this is social proof, right? This is social proof and personality as well, because his grandmother, he has a good relationship with his grandmother. That's unique. And so that's a unique angle, right? And as you can see here, that blew up because it's very unique. Then you have the authority, because as you can see here, he's teaching stuff to other people. So he's in the middle of this and a lot of people are listening to him. So that's really authority. Then the live closing partnership deal from sale to testimonial. The thing is, this is just social proof, right? This guy got closed and now he's a testimonial. He's really happy with his product. That's basically social proof, right? Now for Nick Setting, for instance, or for Samo Onua, that's a little different. Of course, you can see here that this is a lot of authority. Him in a Lamborghini, I think a Urus, and then here in a Lamborghini as well. So that's basically the whole lifestyle, right? It's a yacht here, and then again with a Lambo. So basically this whole page, he doesn't need pin posts because this is very unclear, right? So this is not really clear what you can expect for every video, but this is really clear. There's a lot of authority in the visuals themselves. So he doesn't need pin posts because the authority speaks on the visuals themselves, right? And that's with carousels as well. So if you were to see the carousels of Samo Onua and Max House and Nick Setting, those are really just supporting the image of the brand. So with Samo Onua, that's his lifestyle. So he shows his lifestyle. I think I have a picture here. We're going to spoil a bit of the video. So he supports the lifestyle, right? The rolls, then in Dubai, really nice weather, really nice house, right? So he really supports the lifestyle he has. Or someone else from the Netherlands, Joshua Katz, again, really authoritative with his Lamborghini, Urus, and whatever he has wearing. So that's really supporting the lifestyle that you show, right? So that's really important. So that's the optimization of the profile, so your ecosystem. And now once you have those pillars ready and they support your brand in order to convert people, you need to produce reels. You need to get people into that profile. So you need to feed your content ecosystem, and you do that by reels distribution. So that's the next part of this video. So the thing is, to be clear and to be honest, I see a lot of people doing this wrong. What they do wrong is they get so invested by creating reels and chasing their metrics, their comments, their likes, their watch time, and their views, for instance. The thing is that they forget that there are real people behind the camera. So real people, oftentimes they get sold and they buy on emotion and they get triggered on emotion. So you need to focus, you need to understand that your content needs to trigger a certain type of emotion in order to nurture people and eventually convert people into buyers. So that's really important. Now, what brand pillars do you need in order to convert people into buyers? The thing is that I'm going to explain them right here, but there's a difference between B2C and B2B. With B2C, this mechanism changes into the personality. So this changes into personality, right? So you have B2C personality and B2B the mechanism or your unique method. These are basically the three emotions you need to trigger to convert people into buyers. Okay, so number one, the authority, the mechanism or the personality, and trust. Once you hit these emotions in your personal brand and in your content, your audience will convert into buyers, and that's where you actually monetize your personal brand and your content. So authority, mechanism, or personality, and trust. Let's dive deeper. Authority means you have your own experience, your lifestyle, or your, for instance, podcast. The thing is, when you have authority over a certain topic or a certain skill, people will respect you. Now, as you see here with Samo Onua, he has a lot of authority because he's living the lifestyle. He has the yacht, he has the cool rolls, he has the lifestyle. So he's basically, he has your respect because he achieved something most people dream to achieve and dream of success, and he has that success, right? So that's authority. And here with Max House as well, a $39,000 day. Most people achieve that in a year. He made that in a day. That's crazy. That's insane. That most people can't even fathom that amount in their bank account, let alone achieve that in a single day. So that's authority. He achieved something with a skill that most people look up to. He has respect, right? Then the mechanism or personality. That's the thing that actually makes people unique. So that makes you stand out. And of course, you need to understand that authority is not paired to someone. The second thing that's really important is the mechanism or the personality. The thing is that this will get people to pay you instead of someone else. They pay you for your personality because they like you, and people will only buy from people that they like, and they will never buy you if they don't really like you. So the thing is, they have to feel a connection with you, and you do that by showing your personality. If you don't show any personality, you'll get friended by everyone. And being a friend of everyone basically means that you're a friend of no one because you don't show personality. You don't give them a chance to actually connect with you. And of course, your mechanism. So this is basically how you stand out and how unique you are. If you don't have a mechanism or a personality, you don't stand out. You don't give people a reason to choose you instead of someone else. That's basically what the mechanism and the personality is. Then the final one is, of course, trust. So people need to be able to actually trust you in order to pay you for a transformation. If they don't trust you, they will never pay you because they don't trust that you will get them results they want. So how do you do that? You do that by client results, client transactions, and testimonials. You need to show people that you've helped someone else in a similar situation as them to achieve their goal. You help them from A to B. You help them cross the bridge, right? And that's how you create trust. The thing is that a lot of people miss one or even more factors in their personal brand, but that just creates a gap. And I'm going to show you what gap that creates. If you just have authority and trust, you create the following situation. They see you live the lifestyle and have the proof, but without the personal connection, you're just another guru. This means that if you don't have a personal connection with them, you're just another company. You're just another guy selling something, selling a transformation. They don't feel connection with you, right? The second one, if you just have authority and mechanism, so you lack trust, they see you have the lifestyle and really relate to you, but how do they know this will work for them or for their situation or B2B for their business, right? For their niche, for instance. So you create a gap by not implementing trust. And lastly, when you have a mechanism and trust, you create the following situation. They know you can fulfill and like your story, so they feel a connection with you or with your unique mechanism, but they have no real respect for you. And that's because you lack authority. Now, if you have all three, which is only a small percentage of the people in the industry, then you get the following situation. So they have respect for you, they relate to your story, so they have a connection with you by showing personality, and they know you can fulfill, so they trust you. And that's basically the three emotions you need to hit in order to convert people into buyers. Now, how would this actually work in a content funnel? The thing is, of course, you have top of funnel, middle funnel, and bottom of funnel content. And basically, this sort of transforms into top of funnel, middle funnel, and bottom of funnel. The thing is, at the top of the funnel, getting awareness is your main priority. You can't expect people to like or trust you when they've never seen your face. This is very broad and viral content, so people feel intrigued to learn more about you, your story, or your lifestyle. Show them what makes you stand out or unique in any type of way. Tell them stories about your personal business or give them new insights in subjects you have authority in. See how those emotion brand pillars really transform into top of funnel content. The thing is with middle of funnel content is content in the middle funnel is for building a personal connection. Most important here is that people see that you're not like the rest. Your method is capable of delivering extraordinary results, and they decide whether they like/believe you, your story, or your method, and want to follow you/buy from you because they feel they can relate to you or your method. So that's basically the personality or mechanism content. That's centered for middle funnel, but it doesn't need to be exclusive middle funnel. Same with top of funnel. It's centered about getting awareness, so showing your lifestyle and getting authority, but it's not the main priority and it's not the only priority. Then with bottom of funnel is trust. So trust content will lead to conversion. They see you have authority over the subject. They build a personal interest/belief with you or the mechanism, which led to wanting to reach out. And now they also know you can truly fulfill because not only did you succeed, you taught others how to succeed because of your method/help. So that's basically the trust. See how that's centered, but not specifically focused on trust content. So that's with Reels distribution. And of course you have story sequences as well. And you basically have three types of story sequences, actually two. The first one being value or action-based story sequences, where you actually tell them your method or give value or show something, a system or a transformation, for instance. That's value or educational story sequences. And then the other is social proof or credibility sequences. Basically what that means is you show either results of your clients or a specific in-depth result of a specific ICP or client. So in practice, that looks like you either post 3 to 4 short results. So Tom hit this result, Jenny hit this result, Eric hit this result, and John hit XYZ result. So that's really short, not really in-depth. And the other one is where you actually show in depth the ICP, what that person was, what his previous situation looked like, how you helped them and implement your skills, and how the result eventually turned out. So John was stuck in XYZ position. Then we helped him increase his revenue by doing this and that. And now he's living his dream life, X amount of revenue in X months. So that's really an extraordinary result. So they actually relate to John. You show and tell his story. And so that's basically a credibility storytelling sequence opposed to a credibility results driven story sequences. Clear? All right. So basically the story sequence, how I view them is number one, the ultimate nurture sequence. You have to understand that if they follow your stories actively, every story is a 1% conversion. So when they watch 100 stories actively, they are 100% converted. And the beauty of it is that you'll see that not a lot of people reach out after every story. The thing is with story sequences is that people don't see the direct ROI potential on them. When I say every story has a 1% conversion, which means that only after 100 stories do people actually take action and convert. So after posting 100 stories are where people actually convert into buyers and reach out. So they don't have to reach out for 100 stories. Then the 101st story is actually where they reach out. So that doesn't mean that your 101st story was a really good sequence. That means that those 100 story sequences actually mattered. The thing is that people nurture themselves and they are ready to buy long before they ever reach out to you. Understand? So they reach out only when they're 100% ready, and when they're 50% ready, they need more nurture, aka they need more story sequences. Give them more story sequences. And the theory behind this is that when I see personal brands and I tell them how to implement story sequences, I tell them to implement them on the philosophy of you need to show that your coaching or your personal brand is a results train. And that results train is going to keep going forward and harder and harder. And as long as your personal brand or your info coaching is a results train, whether people step on the train or not. So they're either going to be on the train, getting results, aka converting into buyers, or they're going to see the train leave the station and get back to the station over and over again and keep seeing the results. So that's basically story sequences. Now the next step is branding. And I see a lot of people fuck up branding because they don't understand the key part of branding. At its core, branding is about creating associations. And that happens when you pair your brand with an outcome people look up to. For instance, Max Inhouse and Nick Setting, they pair themselves and their brands with scaling companies and scaling organic marketing. The thing is that every video and every podcast and every story sequence and every photo is stimulating those associations. So they stimulate the brand by constantly creating the association that they are connected to getting increasing revenue and scaling personal brands and scaling companies. So that's basically how the association works. Samuel Onua, for instance, he pairs himself with creating e-com brands, scaling e-com brands and getting financial freedom and getting rich and whatever, buying Lamborghinis and living in freedom and whatever. So he pairs himself and his brand to that extraordinary result. So every post, every video, every reel, every story is constantly feeding that association and feeding that brand. Now there's a very interesting branding theory I wanted to discuss, and I got it from Daniel's actual 2-day mastermind back when he did it in Hong Kong. So this is basically the 2-day mastermind, and as you can see here, a 25-page long summary of what was actually said in the mastermind. So if you want this, you can comment Daniel down below in the comments and I'll send it to you because this is really valuable. Now the thing is, in that document, there's a format equation, and a lot of people struggle with choosing the right format for them. And the thing is that, for instance, you can vlog your lifestyle, you can just do Miro videos or client testimonials or podcast. And there's so many formats in the world where you can choose from, but how do you actually choose a format that fits your brand and your lifestyle? Basically, the format equation is the authenticity you have for a certain format, the leverage you have, and the effort required for creating that format. And that is your winning format. So the thing is, your authenticity is how does your personality come out and how authentic are you when creating this format? So this means that basically you need to show this is a format that fits your lifestyle really well and you really enjoy making, and it's really easy for you to make, because only in that way does your personality really come out. And when your personality really comes out really good is where you create a good authentic content piece, and authenticity is where you actually stand out. So authenticity times leverage. How unique is that content format for you? For instance, Nick Setting with his micro videos, he was one of the first people to ever do that. So his leverage was really high, and it's really easy because he was traveling to a lot of cool places and he was already making a lot of micro videos. So his leverage was really high. For instance, if you have a lot of masterminds or live events with your brand, your leverage in that format is really, really high because not a lot of people get to do live events and masterminds. So you get to leverage that format really easily and really nicely. And then divided by the effort required. So that means how much effort do you need to put in order to get that format? Like I said, if you do masterminds and live events every week, it's really easy for you to get that format ready because you do them every single week. The only thing you have to change is you have a vlog camera or a camera setup next to you when you do those live events. You don't have to do any extra effort in order to get those video live, right? Now, for instance, with a podcast or a testimonial video, that's a lot of effort because the thing is, if you're doing it in person, you have to get people all the way to your studio. Now, for instance, with a vlog, if your life consists of going to the gym every day, then going back home and working 14 hours a day, that's not really interesting for a vlog. But of course, you want to make a vlog interesting. So you do extra activities and go on a holiday and spend extra amounts of money. But if that's not your lifestyle, the effort required for creating that format and creating that video is really high. So you will never be able to truly stay consistent in that format, and it will drain your energy. Basically, the perfect format for your personal brand is the format where the only thing you have to change in your workflow and the only extra effort you have to do is add a camera. You only have to add a camera and capture the lifestyle you're already living. That's the easiest way to capture a good format. That's your winning format. So find a format where the only thing you have to do is add a camera, and that's your winning format. Now, this is basically one of the most important things about the video, is that this is the foundation of a good personal brand. And phase 3 is amplifiers, but I have to tell you that those amplifiers don't matter when the foundation sucks. So really focus on your foundation. Get a good profile, then understand what a good profile actually is, then do Reels distribution for your profile, get good story sequences, and understand what your branding actually is, and understand your winning format based on the format equation. That's basically the foundation needed to create a good personal brand or info business. Now, the next part is phase 3, which is the amplifiers. The thing is that amplifiers don't discriminate. So if you have a really shitty foundation, your amplifiers will just amplify a already shit foundation. Amplifiers don't make a difference between good and bad. So the thing is that if you have a shit foundation, those amplifiers will not work. You will blame those amplifiers, but really the thing that's lacking is your foundation, because they just show that they just boost your shitty foundation, and you try to amplify and boost an already shitty working personal brand. So get the foundation working first, and only then are you allowed to add in amplifiers. So once you understand and actually implement a good foundation is where you get to phase 3, which is amplifiers. Now, the thing is that there are a few. You have follower ads, direct response funnels, and of course, organic scale. And we're going to basically discuss all 3 of them. Now, the thing is follower ads, which is basically the profile funnel. The thing is, you have different types of content you can actually use for follower ads. Now, the goal here is to get people to your profile. Whether that's top of funnel, so getting people to see your profile for the very first time, or bottom of the funnel is to get people back in your profile. You always lead to the profile. And like I said, there are top of funnel, middle funnel, and bottom of funnel follower ads. The thing is, top of the funnel. What I see here is that there are 2, lifestyle for B2C and authority/mechanism for B2B. Now this works in various forms. You have, of course, carousels. So this is what I said earlier, the carousel Samo Unua. That's his lifestyle. So people feel intrigued by his lifestyle and get interested, and then they go to his profile, right? He has 1 million followers. And of course, there's a lot more people on the Instagram platform. So people who don't really know him, once they see the Rolls Royce, they see the crazy back tattoo and whatever the fuck, and the crazy house, they feel intrigued to see more, and then they click on the profile. So that's basically how you boost carousels. So the lifestyle carousels you can boost and get people to basically gain followers, right? So as you can see here, this is a really good working carousel as well. Of course, with the cars, the crazy lifestyle, he's walking in the middle of those cars. So he's centered right here in a car dealership. He's looking for cars. And of course, there are more pictures here. So they feel intrigued, they swipe, and then they follow. That's basically how it works. Now you can do the same with Reels. The thing is with top of funnel is it needs to be really unique, and it needs to stand out. So it's really broad and focused on authority. So start sales calls like this to filter indecisive, poor people. So that's really a strong way to set yourself apart and a strong way to filter top of the funnel. And here again, profile funnel hack to 10x personal brand authority. So that's basically what I'm discussing here. He's showing something to a group of people, so that's really authoritative, and then he's showing you something, and if you find that valuable, if you find that information valuable, you might follow to get more of that information, right? So that's basically how that works. And of course, you see here, this is another lifestyle carousel. You get intrigued by the lifestyle, you see the lifestyle, you see the crazy luxury, and then you get intrigued to follow for more. That's basically how that works. And when we look at the awareness stage, is really for the unaware and problem aware people. So unaware and problem aware people are really in the situation where they are intrigued by a different lifestyle. They know they have a problem. They want more money, or they want a good car, or whatever. They want more money, more lifestyle, more freedom. but they are really indecisive. So they don't really understand what to do or how to do it. And that's basically how you create top of the funnel to get people intrigued in your lifestyle and get them to follow, to get them to your content ecosystem, which is your profile. Now, the second thing is middle of the funnel based on inbounds. Now, this is again lifestyle for B2C and mechanism for B2B. The thing is, lead magnet reels, basically they need to farm these comments, right? So this is inbounds. So they farm inbound. As you can see here, this is a really good lead magnet. Basically the formula for a good lead magnet is you get authority. And as you can see here, this is really authority because yeah, in the video, he's on a boat. So he's by himself on a boat, very luxurious boat. So he gets authority from the get-go. Then he shows you something most people don't have. A system, a dashboard, a workflow, could be anything, extra value. And the only way to access the system or get the thing that he's showing is to comment. So that's basically how he farms inbounds. He gets people to take action to get access to that knowledge, that information, that workflow, or that system. That's basically how a lead magnet works. Now you can boost this if you have a really good working lead magnet. Of course, you will get some organic results and then you can put cash behind it and actually boost that lead magnet in order to get even more people to comment, right? That's basically how a lead magnet works. So as you can see here, this is just basically a lot of comments. Basically, this video is boosted as well. So you put cash behind it to get more eyeballs. And when it's a good working video and good converting video, you will get a lot of inbounds. And that's basically targeted for the problem aware and solution aware people. So you show them a solution or a system, and then they need to take action in order to get access. And that's basically targeting a little of these two people because they know they have the problem. They know what a possible solution actually looks like. And when you show something similar or something really cool, a system or a workflow, they feel intrigued to want that system because they know the problem they're having, they know the solution, and you show them a solution or you show them a system, and now they are solution aware and actually reach out. That's basically how that works. So you target on the awareness stage problem aware people and solution aware people. Now lastly, and this is really, really nice, is bottom of the funnel engagers. What this means is you retarget the engagers from the last 30 to 90 days. So they visited your profile either from the middle funnel inbounds or the top of funnel eyeballs, and that's a mock-up audience. So you can create a mock-up audience in your meta ads and you can target people that visited your profile or visited your landing page and focus on targeting purely those people. So those are people that they showed interest and actually took a little bit of action, so they are engaged. And now what you need to do is you create trust. So what does that mean? You need to create bottom of the funnel trust, but because they showed interest, they are possibly product aware and most aware. The thing is because they see the lifestyle that you have, they understand the mechanism, they understand your unique method, how you got from A to B, but still they didn't take action. And that's because they're indecisive, because they don't clearly see how it would work for their business or their situation. So they don't take any action because you didn't show them that they can actually get that result themselves. So what you need to do is create trust. You need to show that you've done this for other people and you've done this for people in their similar situations. So how do you do that? You do that by showing that you've done this for other people. So this is Samuel Onua with a client. This is a video where the client or the testimonial explains the situation he was in, tells a story about a situation, and tells a story about his transformation. So he went from 10K a month to over 100K a month, for instance, and he was a plumber. He had a 9 to 5, he had kids, and he had a wife, and he had a busy life. So that's basically, you see, oh my God, this person who had a very similar lifestyle as me, and he got from A to B thanks to Samuel Onua. And that's basically all you need to do, creating trust. You need to tie your results from very specific persons, very specific ICP to your personality, your result, or your mechanism. That's basically how that works. So bottom of the funnel. Here again, this is Nick's setting. He shows a story about a client telling how he went from 22K to my name, he paid the coaching, and now he's at 200K from one video. That's crazy bottom of the funnel. This is someone who already had an offer but was struggling with acquisition, and he paid Nick, and Nick miraculously fixed his business and made him rich. Now that's really bottom of the funnel. That's really trustworthy because he's not saying it, someone else is saying it for him, or about his mechanism. And that's trust, that's bottom of the funnel, and that's really valuable because if you're saying it yourself, that you got this person to A to Z, that's not really as trustworthy as they are saying it themselves about you or about your method. That's really important to notice. And of course, the last result here, this is basically the same. This guy got from 0 to 55K in X amount of time period, and he was a plumber, had a crazy lifestyle, blah, blah, blah. And now he's changed his life thanks to the guy who helped him with his unique method. And that's basically where you focus the people who are product aware and most aware. They've seen you before because they are engagers. They've engaged in your platform. They've checked out your videos. They checked out your profile because they are profile visitors. You can specifically optimize for this. You can target the people who are actively searching on your profile. So they visited your profile once in the last 30 to 90 days. And they saw your story sequences, they saw your bio, they saw your profile picture, they saw your ecosystem, but they still are indecisive. So you need to give them extra reason. The results train, basically the story sequences, the results train. People are getting results thanks to you or thanks to your unique method. And that's bottom of the funnel engagers. That's basically how that works. So that's one way, using follower ads to amplify your content ecosystem, to amplify your organic growth. Basically, that's how that works. The second way to do it is by direct response funnels. Now, direct response funnels are really in line with what I said here, the bottom of the funnel engagers, because direct response funnels, basically what that means is you expect people to take action immediately. So they need a direct response. That could be a VSL video, a webinar, or a live event. So I always suggest that you do bottom of the funnel direct response funnels, which means that you create the same mock-up audience as the follower ads by targeting people who are engaged in the 30 to 90 days time span. And that's because if you were to see the very first ad about a very specific method, or for instance from Nick Setting or Sama Onua, you probably won't click because you need more information. And that's okay. That's normal because you need to have 7 touch points before people actually convert. So a direct response funnel only happens when they've seen your page before and have seen your profile before and seen your page before. So they already had a few touch points before you asked them to take action. And that's basically what a direct response funnel is. Now you can do webinars, live events, or a VSL, for instance. So how does this actually work, right? VSL or direct response funnels is basically paid marketing. So this is not per se organic marketing. This is just an extra funnel, an extra amplifier, which is basically paid marketing. That's where it comes down to. So you have ads going into a landing page or an opt-in page. Then you have the VSL page where you see actually the video. So this is for a VSL, right? As you can see here. Then once you watch the VSL, and the VSL has a specific framework you can use, which you can send me a DM. I work with a lot of VSLs. Companies, the biggest companies doing over $1 million a month actually use the VSLs, but they also have a good content ecosystem. But a VSL has a really specific framework you need to follow in order to actually make it work. So if you want the framework, you can comment down below or DM me and I'll send it to you, because there's a specific framework you need to follow. Anyway, when people watch that VSL, they get to a type form or a questionnaire. And once they fill that in, they get to a booking system where they can actually book a call. And once they booked a call, they get to a thank you page and they get a confirmation email. And then of course you have what follows is of course the call where they will try to close you. So basically, that's basically how that works. So you have a call, and then your main objective is of course to close people on that call. You can do that yourself or with sales reps or aka closers. But that's basically how the VSL works. And you can do the same with webinars, which is just basically a live VSL, which is really harder to scale because you need to do actually live webinars or recorded version, but a live works a lot better. But a VSL is a really nice way to start and implement a direct response funnel. But really important to understand is that direct response only happens when you have a good content ecosystem, because they need to have a few touch points. It's basically direct response funnels only work when they've seen and trusted your page before. That's the only way you can actually make this funnel work, is by implementing it as a retargeting funnel. And lastly, the third way to amplify your organic growth is by organic scale. Now, what do I mean by this? Is first of all, you have trial reels. And this is really, really, really important for people who are trying to scale. So the thing is, you have trial reels. Say for instance, that this video worked really well. Or for instance, a video like this, right? Where a lot of people comment, a lot of inbounds and a lot of results. So what you can do now is the same video you can reproduce or re-edit in a slightly different way. So you change the metadata of the video. So Facebook and Instagram actually recognize it as a different video from this video, because you can just copy and paste the video again, because the metadata will be the same and your video will get flagged and taken offline. So you need to readjust the video slightly, a different caption, a different color, a different music, or a different beginning shot. That's basically the most important. And once you do that, you can really make maybe 5 to 10 versions every single time. And once you have a video that worked really well, you can now reproduce them and put them all on trial. So this is trial, 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 and trial. You can really just basically implement them and actually Post them 5 to 10 times again every single day, as long as you repurpose them the right way and re-edit them the right way, rebrand them. And that's where you can actually scale by using aggressive volume. So you have a good working video, you reproduce it, so you change the metadata, and then you post it again on trial. That's basically how you grow by using aggressive volume, basically. Another way to grow is by actually leveraging someone else's audience. For instance, this is really aggressive example. Say that my audience, I were to collaborate with Alex Hormozi and his 4.7 million followers. Now that's a massive audience that I can now leverage and tap into because I collaborated with him in a podcast video or, for instance, another video. Person A has a specific type of audience, person B has a specific type of audience, and when you collaborate, your audience also collaborate because you both make a video with each other, so your audiences will see each other in the video, and once they like their personality, like your personality, or vice versa, then you can actually cross-platform those eyeballs and people will follow you from their audience and your audience will follow him. That's basically how that works. This is a real aggressive example, of course, because what you need to understand is that, of course, you need to be able to do a collaboration at all. And both parties need to see a win-win situation, because a strong suggestion is that Alex Hormozi won't benefit from using my audience because 90% of my audience is already in his audience. So that's not a win-win situation. You want to always create win-win situations here. You want to collaborate with people from another niche or the same niche with a sort of similar level, so you can actually steal from each other's audience. A really good example of this is when TJR and Iman Gadzhi made a video together. Both people have a really massive audience. I think Iman Gadzhi having around 10 million followers and TJR, of course, having around 5 or something. Both people have a really experienced authority and a really massive audience in a similar or basically a little different niche. People who follow TJR but never heard of Iman Gadzhi are interested in his lifestyle because the lifestyle is sort of the same, and vice versa. And that's really important as well. For instance, if TJR was to collaborate with a bodybuilder, that's a totally different niche, because people who are in trading might not be interested in bodybuilding. And people who are in bodybuilding might not be interested in trading, and vice versa. So you need to understand that for a successful collaboration, both parties need to be in a slightly different niche, but the same industry. People who are into trading, aka follow TJR, want to be successful and they want to be rich and they want to make money online. And Iman Gadzhi's brand has the same norms and values. He teaches people how to be successful, how to get rich, and how to get rich online with an SMMA or another monetizer audience, whatever. So basically, that's the same industry, getting people to be successful, get rich, and get rich quick online. But the vehicle and the niche is totally different. So that's a good way to cross-post and cross audiences. That's a good example of this. And the last way, to also a very effective way to grow aggressively with volume, is by hiring clippers. Now what you do, Alex Hormozi does this. Alex Hormozi has probably approximately more than tens of thousands of hours recordings of him talking about value, helping other people, businesses grow, and etc. etc. So like I said, 4,000 messages, 4,000 posts. That's crazy. That's insane. So basically what you could do now is hire a bunch of people who would just go through all of those recordings and clip those recordings up into short videos, real short form content and long form content. And now you can hire them and they make a Hormozi Clips official Hormozi Clips. So they make a totally different account where they just post clips of you spitting value and just post clips of you working basically. So all the footage you have recorded, you can now just give away to clippers and they will chop those clips up into good videos and post them for you on their own account. So that's basically how clipping works. You pay based on tens of thousands of views. So you pay a commission or maybe a flat fee. A lot of people do it and it's a really nice way to scale. Not only personal brands do it. There's a lot of people who actually make a fuck ton of money with it. Streamers do it, politicians do it, countries do it. So clipping is a really aggressive and good way to scale organically. And that's basically all I wanted to share about amplifiers. Now you need to understand, like I said in the beginning, amplifiers only work when you have a strong foundation. So these two are not hand in hand. This one goes first. You need to have a good content ecosystem in order to amplify your ecosystem. So really focus on phase 2 first. And once you have phase 2 unlocked, you have your first sales organically, then you can amplify what's already working. Now, finally, phase 4, leverage and labor. Now to scale not only with content, you want to scale the whole business. And that means you need to have the right systems and the right people in place, because scaling to $1 million a month, you won't be able to do that with a one-person team. It's impossible in the info space. You won't be able to take all the calls yourself, all the closes, then coach all the people yourself. You need to have other people who will do that for you and systems that actually make it really easy to scale and build the infrastructure for the right data and the right overviews and the right productivity. So there are two really important things here. There's the systems and the hiring process you need to be able to make in order to grow. For instance, the systems is the tracking sheets. Like I said here, this is an empty tracking sheet, but this is basically when using the funnels. Here you track per week in 2026, as you can see, and per month you can track ad spend, link click, CPC, CTR, basically everything, all the way to calls scheduled, calls taken, show up, sales, closing rate, cash collected percentage. As you can see here, ROAS on cash collected, ROAS on order value, every data you need in order to make the right marketing decisions based on data, hard data. That's really important. So here, as you can see, all the way to cash per lead, cash per type form, order value per type form, cash per qualified type form. It's insane how in-depth you can actually make it when you have the right data in place. So what that means is when you have the right data in place, then you can make marketing decisions that actually make sense. If you were to just scale based on, for instance, revenue, brother, please don't ever try to scale based on revenue because you don't have the right data in place. So how would you make the right marketing decisions, delocate ad spend, for instance, or scale the right content if you don't even know what content works for you and how many revenue was generated from specific marketing decisions? That's why this tracking sheet is really important. Now, the second thing you want to have is a CRM. Now, CRM is basically a customer relationship management tool. This basically consists of every lead that comes in, but also your content pipeline, seeing exactly what content is in ideation, what content is in editing, ready to record, ready to review, or ready to post. Only then will you see that your marketing decisions actually make sense and the productivity will increase because you understand how the system behind creating marketing actually works. So a CRM is really important as well. Now, of course, you need the right people on the bus in order to scale effectively and scale to eventually over $1 million a month. Now, this is basically what a basic info business company looks like from a hiring perspective. First, of course, you have you, which is you are the CEO. Your job is to create content and set the strategy, along with a good COO. And the COO is responsible for the day-to-day tasks. You don't want to be bothered by day-to-day decisions, managing editors, managing other people. Eventually, you just want to create content and let loose of every day-to-day task. You want to strategize, create content, and that's it. So you hire a COO that takes care of all the headaches and all the day-to-day operations. That's basically what a COO does. Now, under the COO, you have, of course, every company, especially with info, you have a marketing and a sales department. HR and whatever the fuck, info businesses don't even need that. Once you have A players in place, you don't need an HR department because that's just for NPCs basically. Basically, you need a head of marketing, someone that's responsible for the marketing department, and you need a sales manager, someone that's responsible for the sales department. And under those people fall editors and marketing people, for instance, scripters, copywriters, editors, media buyers, all that nonsense. But one person is responsible for their growth, and you can keep one person responsible on their KPIs. That's really important with marketing. Now, the same goes for sales. You need to have one person responsible for the sales, for the closes and for the setters and closers. Now, he gets to determine himself who he hires for closers and setters. That's really important. Once you have an A player, a really good sales manager, he is capable of hiring the right closers, training those closers, and getting those closers to hit the KPIs they need. You can keep him responsible for hitting those KPIs. That's really important as well. So you have two people responsible for the biggest departments in your info business. That leads to one person that is in control of the day-to-day tasks and the day-to-day operations. And then you have yourself, which is the CEO. Now, this is for a company worth doing over $1 million a month. If you're a lot smaller, say 30 to 40K a month, you might want a COO or a head of marketing, which could be the same guy actually. So this could be the same guy. And then of course a sales manager and then setters and closers. So that's really important. This is not a good or bad. I've seen companies with a lot more manpower doing a lot more, but I've also seen a lot of companies doing the same amounts of revenue with a way smaller headcount. So it's really determined on your situation and your niche. And whether you have a big team or a small team, it really doesn't matter as long as they do the work and are A players. So that's really important when it comes to hiring. So this is basically all you need to know and basically the exact system you need in order to scale and grow to 100K a month. Now, the only thing that's left from this point on is execution. I speak to a lot of people every single day that know exactly what they need to do. The only thing that's holding them back is execution. They stop where work gets hard and they don't have an overview because they don't have the right systems or the right knowledge in place. And that's basically why I created Grow Lean Consulting. We help with the implementation and the execution and the knowledge needed in order to grow to $1 million a month. And our guarantee is if you don't get you to 50K cash collected within 60 days, we help you until you do. This is basically what I breathe. This is what I'm passionate about. And I've seen every info business from the inside and out. So if you need help with implementation, execution, or knowledge, then book in a call down below with the link in the description where you can sit down with me one-on-one, where we will discuss your main bottleneck. And I'll promise you that I will fix your main bottleneck on the call. Then you'll see my authority and see that this actually works. And then we can discuss a potential collaboration. So please click the link down below in the description if you need any help. And I'll see you in the next video. Ciao, ciao.